Okay, boys. So let's go from fighting to motorsport, and we'll talk about the F1. They headed the GP over the weekend in Russia, in Sochi. It was a very wet weekend. Lando was P1, Sainz was P2, and Russell was P3, which is, a very different lineup than you would expect. And then you consider Max Verstappen did start in the 20th, and Lewis Hamilton was 4th.
So Max Verstappen did take a new engine, so that's why I was back at the grid.
Yes, Bottas also took a new engine, but he started ahead because he did qualifying. But largely, this race was dominated by Lando throughout. And Ricciardo did a really good job on the start, and then also did a really good job with their strategy being essentially the head of the train. And he did back that train up a little bit, which I think went very much unnoticed. That he's doing a lot of good support there to help Lando create a bit of a gap between him and all the competitors. There was a lot of action. There was a lot of really great pit strategy, but it all didn't matter. The last 5 laps, it started to rain, and they all had to make decisions about what they were going to do with, do they go to inters? Do they stay on slicks? I saw a diagram that essentially had all the positions of before the rain and then all the positions after where they finished and how that all moved around. And it was, everyone changed positions significantly. The key ones I wanted to kind of mention, say Bottas, for example, was running 14th. He finished 5th in the last 5 laps.
Yeah.
Verstappen, he did jump. He jumped 2 positions in the pit strategy for somehow he got in and out of the pits quicker than the guys in front of him. And I'm not sure how that all worked out, but he did. But he ended up finished 2nd. Lando spins out. He decides to stay out on inters, ends up being the wrong decision. It rains too much. He couldn't keep the car on the road. He spins out, finishes 7th, which was unlucky for him. It was going to be his main victory. He would have won that race. But it didn't help him. Hamilton does get the win. He went in for inters early, came out, led the race. As I mentioned, Max had that great strategy to jump the train that was led by Ricciardo. He finished 2nd. Our boy Ricciardo did finish 4th, and Bottas, as I mentioned, did finish 5th. So it was crazy. After all that, where they started and all that race, we still ended up with a Max Lewis 1-2. It was a bit of a crazy race, but I thought it did show well that McLaren had turned the corner a bit. They are starting to put themselves there as, hey, we're the 3rd team. We're here to compete. We can compete against these other teams and these other guys. Ricciardo has definitely stepped up to help support Lando. They've both been excellent for their own rights. And for where they were Monza last week on 1-2, they've kind of started to ascend. But it's still Max and Lewis's championship to lose from my mind. What were your thoughts, Max?
Yeah, great race. The rain towards the end definitely made it very, very interesting. I think it was very unfortunate for Lando to lose that lead. I think obviously he stayed out for 1 lap too long. He seemed pretty confident on, I think he was running slicks at the time. I don't know if it was a hard or medium compound. Obviously, Hamilton went in the lap before to get inters for the rain. And then, it was all over from there. I think even Lando, after he spun out, he had a little bit of incident entering pit lane as well. He spun out again.
They couldn't stop the car. They had to so he had to go back on the track, turn around and come back on, which is usually a penalty, but they gave him a reprieve in this regards and said, hey, it was wet. You couldn't stop the car. We understand.
Yeah, that's it.
Got off slightly.
Yeah, so unfortunate for him, but great race. Like you said, McLaren's there or thereabouts. I think they're doing really well. They've been able to perform really well in qualifying, which I think is what set them up in all the main races. Hopefully Ricciardo can really have a good end towards the season now. We'll see where it all ends up.
Yep. Yeah, I think there's 10 races left in the season.
That up.
Turkey, United States.
7, I think.
7.
Abu Dhabi. They just added Qatar, so there's 8, I think. Because that was the news just before the podcast kicked off. They've added Qatar as a race into the calendar in November, which I think it's going to replace like the Japan or the Australian GP, which has already been cancelled. What is interesting though, they signed a 10-year deal, so they've can have the Qatar race on the calendar for the next 10 years. So I'm not sure if that means there's going to be an extra race next season, or they're going to maybe they drop one of the European extra races they've added due to COVID and doing the international travel. But yeah, they've got an extra. Qatar has been added to the calendar, so they will have that race.
They got some money over there, boys. They've got a soccer World Cup incoming. There's no doubt. There's some dollars going out of Doha.
Yeah, and nothing better than to throw it at F1 to get Qatar on the map. Hey, it's a great idea leading up to the World Cup. It was like, hey, come check us out. We can hold events. I wonder whether they'll run this during the day or the night. This race, or it'd be interesting. Their weather. It'd be their winter though, wouldn't it?
November.
Coming into their winter.
Yeah.
So, but even still, it might still be 30 degrees.
I can't imagine it'll be snowing.
Yeah. Could be a very hot race, and it'll be interesting to see how the cars manage that heat with that.
That's it. I don't think it's going to be a wet race. Let's put it that
way. Maybe some oil on the track, but no rain.
Oh, I like that. I reckon they've sucked all the oil out of it. I think it's all been converted into skyscrapers and aeroplanes.